All right, guys, Jesus. I'm choking. I'm trying to say all right, guys, and I choked. Oh, God. All right, that's one way to start the stream. 15 minutes early, white screen. I'm hacking up along. Best intro ever. Let's try this again. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Welcome back. I don't know why I'm choking here. Yeah, we're starting the stream a little bit early today because the Game Award nominations are starting in 15 minutes. So let me finish getting this set up. Yeah, great start. Best start ever. This is why I'm starting a little bit early today, because I got to get the weird stuff out now. Oh, God. No, I'm not sick or anything. I don't know. I don't know why that happened. I inhaled a cat hair or something. But, no, scot-free. That's not what it was. Is the volume low? Let me, see. I did have to adjust the gain a little bit. Hopefully there's an improvement there. Slight improvement anyway. Let me put this through headphones. All right, you're going to hear some music in a moment here. I'm just going to turn that down for now. All right. So yeah, welcome back to the stream, guys. I wanted to be sure to go live just a little bit early here so we could catch the Game of the Year nominations live together. Again, sorry for that weird intro. But yeah, I will let you know, we're going to be talking about this today. We're going to be talking about the games that were nominated for Game of the Year. But we do have other topics that we're going to be discussing over the course of today's stream, such as a couple of issues with some PS5 Pro enhanced games that have been discovered, which we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about LEGO Horizon Adventures and how it seems like this game... Well, it's hard to say how it's doing on like PS5 and on Nintendo Switch, but it's a mega flop on Steam, which is kind of surprising, I would say, because it's a new game. It's not like it's an older game being released or something. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the potential implications of that. So before we go any further, why? You're saying, can we not talk about LEGO Horizon? I mean, I've been barely talking about it, but this is one of the only pieces of PlayStation news. We do have a couple of other PS5 Pro things we'll discuss, but yeah, guys, so before they announce the nominees, and before we dive into it, I do just want to thank you guys for showing up and before we go any further, if you enjoy the content or you just enjoy the streams, be sure to hit the like button. It definitely helps. I did see that. Yeah, Dark Souls 3 Remastered is apparently in development. That's interesting. I mean, I'd play that. I love Dark Souls 3. But yeah, guys, If you want to help support the channel directly and contribute directly, there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can become a channel member. You can gift memberships. We have a member goal of 25. If we hit that, we'll feed the beast. You can also donate a super chat, and you can drop a direct donation. These are 4 different ways in which you can support the content, the channel, and the community directly. We are fan funded. I can only do this because you guys make it possible. So thank you to everybody who contributes. I feel like Lego is not really a PC gamer type of game. I'd be more interested in the PlayStation and Switch numbers. Yeah, I kind of see that as well, Wabu dude. I don't know that there's too much we can gather, you know? Devil Shooter, I'm reading what you're saying about your dog in the chat. If that doesn't work, surgery. Can be leaving at any moment. All right, man. Well, good luck. Well wishes. And yeah, hopefully it goes smoothly for you, man. Let me see how much. So we got, okay, we still got about like 8 minutes. I mean, what are your predictions for, let me bring this up. What are your predictions for the nominees? I think there's 6 nominees for Game of the Year. What are we thinking? Wukong, Stellar Blade, and Space Marine. You think they're on the ban list? Terrence, you're saying you're playing Skate 3 on your Xbox right now, hoping the next Skate game turns out great. Yeah, I hope we do get an update on the next Skate game sometime soon. Black Myth Wukong Game of the Year nominee. Metaphor and Rebirth are locks. Rise of the Ronin. I don't think Rise of the Ronin. I mean, it was one of the funner games I played this year, but I don't think that's going to make a Game of the Year or the Game of the Year list here. It could show up somewhere, maybe. Concord. Yeah, I don't think Concord is going to be showing up. Imagine if Dragon Age is there. That would be funny. I mean, the meltdowns are going to be insane. Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or you said remake, but Rebirth, Helldivers 2, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor. Elden Ring expansion. Yeah, I think Shadow of the Erdtree is going to be part of it. For sure. I think that's going to be a nominee. So, all right, my predictions for now are going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Astrobot, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Metaphor, ReFantasio. There's 2 more slots. I'm going to say Black Myth Wukong. That's 5. And 1 more. I mean, I would like to see like Helldivers 2 on there, but I don't think Helldivers 2 is going to be on there, man. It could be. Maybe I will put Helldivers 2 on there, but I'm not expecting it. I don't know what to pick for the 6th. Soyu, aka Mr. Hamster, he says, "What's up, MBG? Can't wait for the show. What's up, man? Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for the super chat donation, man." Silent Hill 2, yeah, actually, yeah. That I kind of keep forgetting that did just come out. Yeah, that could be the 6th. Zelda, you think? Oh yeah, true. I didn't think of any Nintendo games. You think Zelda's gonna make it? You're saying Metaphor's not winning Game of the Year. It steals the whole formula from Persona. Press are Nintendo fans. Official Mark, you're saying Silent Hill 2 should be nominated. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Dude, if The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is on this, I'm I'm just done. I'm just done, man. I think everybody's going to be done at that point. That would be embarrassing. I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. I think that would be a bit embarrassing, you know? Still got a couple more minutes here. Yeah, Stellar Blade is one that I don't think is going to be nominated for Game of the Year. I mean, it was a really good game, and I think for some people it is their Game of the Year, but I don't know. I don't think so. Guys, Concord is getting nominated. Concord should show up for something. Some type of new award category for like quickest live service death. Quickest live service shutdown. I don't know. Something along those lines. So we got about 3.5 minutes. Jeez, Patrick. Yeah, that would be a hell of a name for a award category. Oh, wow. Sim Particle, bro. Yeah, what kind of insanity is going to ensue this year? What's up, Mini Tom? Yeah, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that like button to help the stream out. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, I've seen a few people mention Balatro. You think it could be in the running for Game of the Year? You don't understand why Sony fans, most of them hate Nintendo, why the press are Nintendo fans. Most of y'all talk about Astro being amazing, literally a game inspired by Nintendo games. Well, I mean, I didn't take the, the press being fans of Nintendo. I didn't take that as like a swipe or anything. I just think it, I think there's truth to it. I think that, a lot of the press, they do like Nintendo. But is Xbox going to have a nomination? Titus, you're saying it probably should. I've heard nothing but crazy love for that game, Balatro. Yeah, I've heard about it too. I haven't played it, but I've only heard good things. I heard it's very addicting. Hellblade 2, you think? I could see Hellblade 2 getting some type of... I don't know if it would get a Game of the Year nomination, but it could get something. One of those categories. AMBG, looking forward to seeing what's coming up on this stream. Oh, here we go. We got less than a minute now. So, yeah, hit that like button, guys. No, I did not watch the Half-Life 2 documentary. You think Hellblade 2 will get Best Narrative? Starfield DLC. Oh, yeah. I guess that could technically be in the running, right? Shattered Space. I mean, I will say I think a game I would like to see nominated for Game of the Year, but I'm not totally confident, is Helldivers 2. All right, let me turn the volume up.
the Game Award goes to... And the Game Award, goes to... And the winner is... And the winner is... And the winner is... 10 years ago, we began a journey together to celebrate video games as the biggest, most powerful form of entertainment in the world. And on Thursday, December 12th, right
Waylark
here
is
at
saying
Peacock
Microsoft more
Theater in
concerned
Los
with making money than good
we will
games.
recognize the best and show you what's next with the 10th
Maybe.
anniversary of the Game Awards. Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Keighley, and welcome to the TGA Global Nomination Announcement Special. Today, it is my distinct honor to reveal this year's nominees, recognizing talented game developers from studios big and small around the world. And you can help select the winners by voting right now at thegameawards.com. All right, you've waited long enough, so let's do it. Here are the nominees for the Game Awards 2024.
If the volume's a little low,
For best ongoing game,
apologize.
the nominees
It's not.
are
I can't do anything about it.
Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2.
Helldivers.
Best performance nominees are Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell for Life is Strange Double Exposure, Umberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts Silent Hill
Luke
2,
Roberts did great.
and Melina Jurgens Senua's Saga.
She did good too
Hellblade 2.
in Hellblade 2. She had a
The
really
best
good performance.
Mobile game, the nominees are AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero. The nominees for Best Art Direction are Astrobot, Black
Astro.
Myth Wukong,
Oh, there we go.
Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, Metaphor Refantasio, and Neva. For Best Score and Music, this year's nominees are Astrobot,
Oh, there we
Final
go,
Fantasy VII
Astrobot.
Rebirth, Metaphor Refantasio, Silent Hill 2,
Oh, Silent
and
Hill 2's on there.
Stellar Blade.
Oh, Stellar
In the
Blade. Damn,
category
bro.
of Best Audio Design, these games are nominated: Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6,
Black Ops.
Final Fantasy
A lot of
VII
Astrobot
Rebirth,
so far.
Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2,
Oh, there's Hellblade.
and Silent Hill 2.
Man, Silent Hill 2 as
Best
well.
Adaptation recognizes excellence in authentically creating shows, movies, and other creative endeavors based on video game worlds. Here are this year's nominees for Best Adaptation: Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon Yakuza, and Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. For Best Narrative in a Game, the TGA nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor Refantasio, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2.
Man, Silent Hill 2 is showing
Games
up a
for
lot.
Impact celebrates thought-provoking games with a profound pro-social meaning or message. Here are this year's nominees: Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera, Zao.
Hellblade 2
The
showing up
nominees
quite
for
a bit
Best
too.
Community support are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2,
Helldivers, I think
No
that's
Man's
twice so
Sky.
far.
In the category of Best Multiplayer, the nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2,
Helldivers 2 again. Nice.
Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and
Tekken showing
Warhammer
up.
40,000, Space Marine
Warhammer.
2. Best Independent Game celebrates games with a high degree of risk tolerance, as they are produced outside of the traditional publisher system. The nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. Next is Best Debut Indie Game, which recognizes a development team that hasn't won a Game Award before. In fact, these teams published their first game in 2024. The nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. For Best VR AR Game, the nominees are Arizona Sunshine Remake, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellsinger VR, and Metro Awakening. For Content Creator of the Year, the nominees are Queso, Illawan, Techno Gamers, Typical Gamer, and Usada Pecora. Part of the Game Awards is looking forward to what's next. And yes, we'll have lots of games to announce on December 12th. But what's the most anticipated upcoming game? Here are the nominees based on currently announced titles. Death Stranding 2.
If it's not GTA 6, it's not
Ghost
real.
of Yote. Grand Theft Auto 6. Metroid Prime 4
I mean, it's
Beyond,
GTA 6, right?
and Monster
That's gotta
Hunter
win.
Wilds. The best action
Thank
adventure
you, guys. Thank you.
nominees are
You're too kind.
Astrobot, Prince of
Another
Persia: The
Astro.
Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2,
Silent Hill 2 again.
Star
My
Wars
God, dude.
Outlaws, and The Legend
I don't know why.
of Zelda,
I'm just surprised
Echoes
that
of
Silent Hill
Wisdom.
2 is showing up so much.
For
It's
best
getting a lot of love.
role-playing, The jury selected Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. In the category of Best Fighting, the nominees are Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiversus, and Tekken 8. The nominees for Best Action are Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops
Oh, wow.
6,
Black Ops 6 made it on there.
Helldivers 2,
Helldivers as well.
Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2.
Solid lineup.
Innovation in accessibility celebrates games that are making our industry available and enjoyable to more people. Selected by a special committee of accessibility experts, the nominees for innovation in accessibility are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Prince of Persia: The
I
Lost
feel like
Crown,
Dude, Black Ops 6 is showing up like
Star
more than I would
Wars
have expected, you know?
Outlaws. Next up, Best Family Game. The nominees are Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime,
There's Nintendo.
Super Mario Party Jamboree,
Nintendo again.
The Legend of Zelda Echoes of
Nintendo.
Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. The Best Sim Strategy nominees are Age of Mythology Retold,
Black Ops 6, best family
Frostpunk
game.
2, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. This year, these titles are nominated for Best Sports Racing, F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, and WWE 2K24. All right, let's take a look at our 3 esports categories, starting with Best Esports Game. The nominees are Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and Valorant. The nominees for Best Esports Athlete are 3-3, Alexi B, Chuvi, Faker, Zywoo, and Kong Kong. And for the Best Esports Team, our Special Esports Committee nominated these teams: Billy Gaming, League of Legends, Gen G, League of Legends, Navi, Counter-Strike, T1, League of Legends, and Team Liquid, Dota 2. All right, it's time for our final 2 categories. For Best Game Direction, which recognizes outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, the nominees are Astrobot,
Oh.
Balatro, Black Myth Wukong,
Oh, man. Black Myth Wukong made up
Elden
there.
Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. And finally, our global TGA jury, of which I am not a member, has selected the following 6 games as nominees for Game of the Year at the Game Awards 2024.
Don't be mad at me.
Game of the Year nominees are Astrobot from Team Asobi, Balatro.
Oh,
from Local
Balatro's on there, bro.
Black Myth Wukong.
Black
by
Myth
Game
Wukong made it.
Science. Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree by From Software. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from Square Enix. And Metaphor ReFantazio.
Damn, dude.
From
I was pretty
Studio Zero.
close.
So there you have it. Those are your nominees for Game of the Year. And yes, that means you'll hear the Game Awards Orchestra, conducted by Lauren Belf, play their themes live on this very stage on December 12th. But before then, you should head to thegameawards.com to help select the winners by casting your ballot in all categories. Also, stay tuned for the announcement of our Player's Voice category, where fans 100% select the winner from 30 nominees. We'll announce those nominees on Monday, December 2nd. The winners in all categories will be revealed live during the Game Awards when it streams globally on Thursday, December 12th, starting with the opening act at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 12:30 GMT at thegameawards.com.
You're saying Balatro is such a press pick.
Wait to share our 10th anniversary.
We'd mentioned that,
see you then.
And I'm a little bit surprised it's up there. I just wouldn't have expected it, but there you go, man. All right, we'll talk about this. So, guys, what do you think about specifically the Game of the Year nominations? What are we thinking? Get this off here and all. There we go. What are we thinking? Final Fantasy or Elden Ring are winning. I mean, yeah, so let me go look at it again. So we have, what did I predict? I said, my prediction was Astrobot, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, Metaphor, Black Myth. So I was completely correct, except for the 6th game. I was saying maybe it could be Silent Hill 2, but it ended up being Balatro. I wouldn't have guessed that. So I was like 5 out of 6. Not bad. Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor. I mean, between these 6 games, I think I gotta say, I think I'm rooting for Astro here. That's the one I played. I mean, I played some of these other games too, but Astrobot I went the distance with. But I think all these games are deserving. And I could see any one of them. I mean, the only one I'm least familiar with here is Balatro. Like I don't know what'll happen, like how people will react if that wins. But they all seem deserving. Skill Up gushes about Balatro, you're saying, Michael Lynch? And Waylark is saying, of all the games there, I have more hours on Balatro. Well, there you go, man. Yeah, it's showing up, man. It's no joke. I mean, it's interesting to think that Silent Hill 2 had so many nominations, but, didn't make it for Game of the Year. Adama the Dragoon says, I don't think Balatro really deserves to be up there, but it is very, very good. Balatro is a card RPG. Balatro is a mobile game. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I guess... I do wonder if it'll win. You're saying neither does Wukong. You think Wukong doesn't deserve to be up there? Well, I feel like Black Myth Wukong being in the running for Game of the Year kind of, I think it changes some people's view of the Game Awards at least a little bit, where, a lot of people are convinced that, or were convinced, I guess you could say, that a game like Black Myth Wukong would not essentially be allowed. Like the panel, the judges, they wouldn't vote for it to be up there. But there it is. So that's good to see. Metaphor is your personal game of the year. You're just happy it's up there. It was a great game. Yeah, I'm not surprised that Metaphor is nominated. People were very happy with that game. Saying Black Myth is there because of popularity only. All right, well, what games would you see replaced then? Like what game is missing from the list that you think should replace one of the 6 games up there? Which game do you think is more deserving? And and which game would you take off? Rashdan V2, you're saying Metaphor has my vote. Atlas went above and beyond. I think Infinite Wealth, Silent Hill 2, Helldivers 2, Alpha Ghost, you're saying remove Balatro. Infinite Wealth and Tekken had 90 Metacritics. Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma 2. The Last of Us 2 deserves it. I can't tell if you're being serious or not. You know Elden Ring will win. Well, all right, yeah, let's look over this and try to determine which one do we. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I will be honest with you. I would be surprised if Shadow of the Erdtree beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, just because I feel like when I look at the 6 games, I didn't complete Rebirth, but I just feel like that's the game that is just the most likely to take it home. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of love for Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree. You know, like I said, a lot of people basically were like, this feels like a brand new game. Titus, you're saying you don't hate any of the nominees? Yeah, no, I don't see any problems here. So we have a Sony published game nominated. I don't know who publishes Balatro. Does anybody know who publishes Balatro? Black Myth Wukong. That's Game Science. Elden Ring, FromSoft, Bandai Namco, FF7 Rebirth, Square Enix, and Metaphor is Atlas and Sega. Michael Lynch, you're saying, I agree with Elden Ring being there. A lot of people talk incredibly about it as if it's the best price of gaming media. Or, sorry, the best piece of gaming media of all year. Or all year. I mean, yeah, I remember when it came out, man. It was, again, Shadow of the Erdtree was being treated like it was a brand new game, like Elden Ring 2, practically. And I didn't play it, but from what I saw and what I've heard, it's like, yeah, wow, this kind of does seem like it could be Elden Ring 2. The amount of content that was on offer and for the price point, it's like, yeah, it's technically a DLC and it is an expansion, but it's offering a lot. And I mean, it was in development for a long time too. So it almost came off as like a double A game. Well, not even a double A. Like it still felt like a triple A game. You know, that's just how big Elden Ring was. Elden Ring was so big that even making a game that's like 1/3 the size still feels like a triple A game. You think? Does anybody here think that Astrobot could win? You think Astro could take it? I mean, I'm rooting for Astro. It doesn't really matter, but it'd be cool for Team Asobi, you know? Most of you are saying you don't think Astro will be able to take it. Some of you think it can. MBG, can you please repeat the nominations? For Game of the Year, the 6 nominations are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantasio. Those are the 6 games nominated for Game of the Year 2024. You think Wukong and Elden Ring are better games than Astro? You would like to see Astro win so it could get more sales? Yeah, I mean, it being nominated, I would say, is probably going to help it at least a little bit. Elden Ring is going to win based off the name alone. Yeah, a lot of people believe that Elden Ring's basically the automatic winner here. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Do you think Silent Hill 2 deserves a spot? It was a good and bad year for gaming. So many great games and flops. Yeah, it would have been nice to see Helldivers 2, but you know, Helldivers 2 got a couple of nominations there, though. Astrobot is the highest rated game on OpenCritic. So the jury made up of those critics is probably the front runner. Elden Ring is like Zelda last year, which will not have it because Elden Ring already had it in 2022, just like Zelda had it in 2017. Biggest flop category. Yeah, that one. There's no biggest flop category. Not this time. Do you think we'll see a GTA 6 trailer? GTA 6 trailer 2 at the awards? No, I don't think we'll see it at the awards, but I think we will see it in December. I think Rockstar will release the trailer in December. Hellblade 2 was nominated for a few different categories as well. What's the most nominated game, though? Does anybody know? I see Zuby Tech posted that Sony received 16 nominations, 7 for Astrobot, 1 for Death Stranding 2, 1 for Destiny 2, 4 for Helldivers 2, 1 for Ghost of Yotei, 2 for Stellar Blade. Those are for Sony published games. So Astrobot had 7. Is there any other game that got 7 total nominations? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth got 7 as well. Okay. So I guess they're tied. I feel like Silent Hill 2 got a lot as well. You're trying to get on the site to vote. Struggling to load. Rosh Tom, you're saying Stellar Blade got snubbed because Eve is attractive. I don't know. I mean, it did show up a couple times, but you thinking that maybe it deserved more? You think it deserved more nominations than it got? I mean, I could kind of see that. Stellar Blade was a really well done game. Do you think the developers of Black Myth Wukong deserve it because it's their first game? MBG, like each year, only PS5 can play all 6 game nominees. I guess that's technically true. Yeah. Well, I don't think there's too many surprises here. I would say maybe the biggest surprise is Balatro being up for Game of the Year, but not a bad one. Just maybe people didn't see that coming. Saying Wukong's incredible. You hope they win. Josh, you're saying I'll probably just watch your recap the next day. I have no desire to sit there for 3 hours. Yeah, it could be. It depends, right? It depends on how good their reveals are and whatnot. But yeah, there have been years where the show drags for sure. Hopefully, this isn't one of those years. Hopefully, this isn't one of those years. PlayStation has 16. Square Enix and Xbox have 12. Sega has 11. Okay. Why didn't Hogwarts get nominated? Well, Hogwarts did come out last year, but yeah, I think that was one of the major controversies is the fact that Hogwarts was nowhere to be seen. Like, didn't get nominated at all, which is a joke. You're saying if they would have skipped Black Myth, you would not be watching the show. Yeah, I think a lot of people would feel that way. Well, there we go. Those are the Game of the Year nominations. And so the Game Awards are taking place on December 12th. I'll be streaming them, obviously. So hopefully we'll watch that together and see what the outcome is. But I do want to move on to the next topic of discussion for today's stream, which is a couple of issues popping up with the PS5 Pro. And, you know, we've been talking about the PS5 Pro a lot, and most of what we've been saying about it is positive and good. But we do have to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good. And, you know, it's important to talk about some of the things that are popping up right now. So there is a write-up here from VGC where it says some PlayStation 5 Pro owners have been reporting that certain games actually look worse on the console. Reports are suggesting that Silent Hill 2 and Star Wars Jedi Survivor, two games that are marked as PS5 Pro Enhanced on the PlayStation Store, actually perform worse in their enhanced versions than they did on the base PS5 console. Players on the Silent Hill 2 Reddit page have been complaining for more than a week that even though the game is apparently PS5 Pro Enhanced, it still has options for quality and performance graphics options. It's claimed that quality mode still runs at 30 frames per second with no noticeable improvement, while performance mode now has an odd shimmering effect on the surfaces. It's been suggested that the shimmering may be a result of the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution upscaling technology used by the PS5 Pro, and that it's working incorrectly with this particular game. One video shows the player switching to performance mode mid-game, which immediately makes the shimmering effect appear, most notably on puddles and trees. Star Wars Jedi Survivor appears to be another victim of PSSR, with Digital Foundry publishing a video which claims the PS5 Pro version has severe image quality problems. Showing a side-by-side video of the game running in performance mode on PS5 and PS5 Pro, Digital Foundry notes clear shimmering present in the latter. If you look at it side by side, you can see just how unstable the game appears now with PSSR in the performance mode. This is what Digital Foundry's Oliver McKenzie says in the video. I would personally go as far as to say it looks dramatically worse than the old performance mode here. McKenzie notes that Jedi Survivor had numerous patches before the release of the PS5 Pro, and that it had reached a point where its performance mode was not that offensive looking. It was basically not too bad. It was okay, especially from a normal viewing distance on a large TV. McKenzie suggests that the issue is almost certainly down to the way PSSR upscales the image. Like other upscaling algorithms, PSSR takes a game's existing rendered image and uses machine learning to attempt to fill in the missing details and present the game at higher resolutions. The issue with this is that if the rendered image has a low level of detail or something with an intricate non-repeating pattern, which could confuse the AI upscaler, such as a road surface or foliage, the upscaled result could be different in each frame, resulting in this shimmering effect. It's not yet clear whether the issues will be patched or whether the problem has to be fixed at a game level or system level. Silent Hill 2 players on the game's Reddit page are becoming impatient at the apparent lack of acknowledgement from Konami or Sony on these issues. And so, on top of that, I have a write-up here from Push Square, where it says, disgruntled PS5 Pro owners campaign to disable support after a slew of shoddy patches. The PS5 Pro is generally posting really positive results in games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Hogwarts Legacy, but as with all things in life, there are some inconsistencies. It's worth underlining that it's down to individual developers to get the most out of Sony's hardware, and not all of them are doing a very good job. We reported on the likes of Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Silent Hill 2, two titles which are pretty terribly enhanced on the PS5 Pro. Others showing suboptimal results include Dragon Age The Veilguard, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Alan Wake 2. And now some early adopters are campaigning for the ability to play games in their original guise. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 allows you to do this, for example. You can toggle between the standard PS5 settings or the PS5 Pro options if you want to. PSSR is amazing, but it's not the magic bullet that fixes all image quality problems that some games have if you just replace the previous upscaling solution with this new one. This is what one fan wrote on Reddit. It still needs to be properly implemented and tested. Maybe Sony should mandate that all PS5 Pro patches need to still include all modes of the standard PS5 version. The same person added, I wanted to continue playing Star Wars Outlaws in the 40 FPS mode until I found out that Ubisoft removed all previous modes with the PS5 Pro patch. I was quite annoyed when I discovered that. This creates an interesting headache for Sony. The console experience is built on the idea that things work out of the box, so would adding more options create confusion? We'd argue the PS5 Pro is designed for enthusiasts first and foremost, so it wouldn't hurt to give them more flexibility. Ultimately, we think the real problem here is developers deploying undercooked patches. No game should look worse on the PS5 Pro, but some titles are releasing in that state. We understand there's little financial incentive for companies to go back to their older games and update them, but if they're actively breaking their software, maybe it would be better to do nothing at all. Surely they want their titles to be presented in the best quality possible. So, yeah, this is the current issue that the PS5 Pro is facing. I wouldn't say it's a major issue because it's not something that we're seeing across the board. But yeah, this is one of these situations where it's the risk you take when you choose to buy hardware day one, new hardware. I've seen people jumping all over the PS5 Pro because of this. However, it is, I think, a little bit unfair to make it sound like these are the results we're seeing across all games. There are many developers who have supported the PS5 Pro in a way that has really, I think, boosted the game and the quality of it, and we've seen that. But there are going to be those experiences that, here's what I would say is the big problem. The fact that some of these games are performing or look worse than the base PS5, that is a serious problem. The article was asking, is this something on a system level or is this on a game level, like a developer level? And I think it's fairly obvious that it's on the developer level, right? Because we've seen many games that are taking advantage of the PS5 and producing great results. And it seems like the games that are not producing great results, it could be that the developers just honestly had a harder time getting a hold of, the technology and being able to properly implement it. And it's also worth noting that this is something we've seen with all AI upscalers. It is a new technology and it's in its first state. It's its first iteration. So, this isn't a matter of trying to make excuses because it sucks. There is no excuse. It shouldn't be this way. You should not, there should be no scenario where you spend $700 and then you go to play a game. It doesn't matter what game it is, but if it says it's Pro Enhanced and it somehow looks worse than the base PS5, there should be no instance where that occurs. But the reality of the situation is it's an AI upscaler and it's its first iteration. And because of that, there are going to be instances like this where they deploy the technology for their game and it's not doing what they thought it would do. It's not producing the expected results. And so what that means is that the developer likely has to go in and put a little bit more effort into it, do a little bit more work to get it where it needs to be. And so, the article speculates that maybe some of this is happening with these games because this was kind of rushed. That's definitely a possibility. I mean, these developers who had their games on the list, games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Silent Hill 2, and Alan Wake 2, and Dragon's Dogma 2, it could be that they were kind of rushing it a little bit to make sure it was there at the launch. But, it's one of these things where we're going to have to keep a close eye on it because stuff like this is only going to hurt the PS5 Pro. A lot of things have hurt the PS5 Pro right now in terms of public perception, and having stuff like this kind of pop up is definitely not going to help it. If this persists, and we see more games, which I don't think we will, but if we do see future games having these types of issues, it's going to hurt Sony sales. It's going to stop people from buying the Pro, and it's going to make people who did buy the Pro feel like they're going to regret it. But again, it's a handful of games, and out of the 50 plus games that are currently enhanced, it's really not that many. But yeah, it does show that we got to kind of be on the lookout with upcoming PS5 Pro games to see if other future titles are potentially going to have this problem. And PSSR being the Digital Foundry speculates that PSSR is the problem. That simply put, PSSR is not going to produce ideal results for all games. And there are some games where it frankly just probably shouldn't use it. I mean, could it be the engine? Could it be just the art style of the game? Potentially. But yeah, it is not a just, magic bullet that's going to, blanket all games. It's just going to fix all games. It's going to, you know what I mean? If you just apply PSSR to every single video game across the board, it'll only produce good results. No, it's a little bit more intricate than that. But generally speaking, that's what Sony's aiming for. Was Dragon's Dogma 2 one of the games not looking good on the Pro? Apparently, yeah. Apparently it does benefit with frame rate, but there are some visual issues that apparently need to be worked out that are being caused by PSSR. You're saying for $700 it better well be a damn magic bullet? Well, that's the struggle, right? I mean, it is one of these things where, sure, it may only be like 3 or 4 games out of the 50, but for $700, it should be 0 games, right? It should be 0 games. All 50 games should look and play better no matter what. But, that's just the way it goes sometimes, man. It's honestly no different than when you buy a console at launch and, sometimes these games, they have issues. Some of the launch games, they have some issues, and it feels pretty shitty because you're like, damn, I paid a bunch of money for this. I'm here day one. Like, I'm a day one supporter. I should get the best experience. But the reality with these types of situations, and this is the way it's always been across all hardware, is if you're a day one adopter, you're going to experience some problems, period. If you're somebody who waits, you're probably going to, you're going to sidestep those problems, or they're not going to be a thing for you. Instant Messenger Sama says the Jeff Keighley X From Software. Oh man, I'm not going to read that word, but ARC has to stop, dog. Enough is enough. Uh-oh. It's From Software to the new Kojima. Damn, bro. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Kojima, I mean, for some reason, I was going to say Kojima loves From Software. Jeff Keighley really loves From Software. If it's a PSSR issue, the system level issue won't be solved until PlayStation 6, most likely. Well, here's something that's interesting and worth pointing out here. When we got the leaked documentation for the PS5 Pro a couple of months ago, the leaked documentation claimed that there was a problem with the version of PSSR that developers were using. There was some kind of shimmering problem, some kind of visual problem, and Sony had to update PSSR to fix that problem. Some people are speculating that some of these games we're seeing that are using PSSR, their patches were finished before the latest version of PSSR was available. And so we are seeing games that have this older version of it that, the devs, they already moved on because they made the patch like months ago. And we're seeing the results of that like visual artifacting and that visual issue. that it was causing. And look, we have no way of knowing that. We have no way of knowing that if that's what we're looking at. But Rashdan V2, you're saying, I see your point, but it's a $700 console up front. People buy consoles to not deal with PC-like issues. They expect it to work out of the box compared to PC. And that's very true. And this is what I mean. This is why it's like Sony needs to get a handle on this very quickly because yeah, it's. I was watching the Digital Foundry video of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and like, to be fair, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a disaster game that, like, it was a disaster across the board. But yeah, dude, it's like, here's this AAA video game that if you bought the $700 console, the most expensive console on the market, and you go back and you play this game, and you play this game because we say it's enhanced, and it actually looks worse. Even if it's just by a little bit, it doesn't matter. Like that, yeah, that's just, it would be better if that game just wasn't enhanced, because that's a really, really bad look. And even if it is a developer issue, that's something that Sony might want to get involved with, because it's, you're seeing places like Digital Foundry analyze this. Hundreds of thousands of people are watching that, and they're like, bruh, So regardless of what the excuse is, because there may be a valid excuse, like, yeah, PSSR is great, the PS5 Pro is great, it's just this particular developer didn't do a great job implementing it. Even if that's the truth, that's still Sony's problem at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And it's Sony's problem because it's our problem, right? Because we're the ones spending the money to invest in this console, and our expectation is, I boot this game up that says it's enhanced, it should be better, right? It should be better, not worse. You've seen a lot of people kind of arguing that it looks the same. I don't see any differences. It looks the same. That's one conversation where it's like, maybe you're having a hard time seeing the differences. But that's completely different from it looks worse. That's the worst possible outcome here. So So we'll see what happens. The hope is that these games will just very quickly get patched and they'll be cleaned up. MBG, even if the shimmering is fixed, there's still the issue that many games aren't any clearer than FSR2. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the first party games are the ones that are really showing off some really solid results. Maybe a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but it's hard to say, man. I do hope, listen, I do hope that by the time next, we're sitting here talking November 2025, I hope it's not like we're looking back and, we're like, man, it's ultimately been underwhelming. But yeah, from what we've gathered, it does seem like PSSR is better than FSR. It just seems like there are a couple of instances where it's not, right? Like Jedi Survivor, the whole thing about that is that game does use FSR. And Digital Foundry's conclusion is the performance mode on the base PS5 that's using FSR looks better than the performance mode on the Pro that's using PSSR. And I feel like that's not really a big deal. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, well, if this game engine, for whatever reason, it just jives better with FSR and that produces better results, then just go with that. That's fine. But I don't think games should, developers shouldn't just try to leverage PSSR just because it's the newest thing. They should only do it if it makes sense, like if it's going to produce better results, right? But in most of the games, from what we've seen so far, it seems like it's producing better results than FSR. Josh Z with a $10 super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says the biggest surprise for me about the nominations is the best performance for Rebirth. Nambri is great, but the other main cast is far better at acting. Cody, Britt, and John, especially if you know, you know. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I didn't play the game fully and all the way through, but I guess what I'm saying is I know that there were so many good performances in Rebirth and so many good, voice actors that it was surprising that it was just one of those actors, or in this case, the actress. I don't know, man. It's been a while since I played it, so it's hard for me to really give my 2 cents on this one. I'd have to play it again and get a better feel. Well, I guess Josh, at that point, I would have to ask you, who which I don't know the names of all these voice actors, but like I agree with that. You're saying that Barrett was by far your favorite. I mean, yeah, dude, me too. Like I could easily see the voice actor who played Barrett getting nominated. I mean, they all did a great job from what I played, but Barrett was my favorite. You wish they released Rebirth when the Pro came out. The game is blurry as hell on base PS5. Well, yeah. I mean, I wanted to talk about this topic because there are people who follow me or who watch my content, and they think that I go out of my way for some reason to avoid the bad news for PlayStation, even though anybody who watches my content consistently knows it's the opposite. I'm always talking about any of the bad news. It's just that sometimes I tend to disagree with what people consider like bad news, right? Or like really terrible news. In this case, I would say this is disappointing news. I don't think that this is like, oh shit, the PS5 Pro is a dumpster fire and we all made a big mistake buying it. I don't think it would be fair to say that because it's just simply not true. There are way more games that are doing good things and enhanced in a way that people would expect and that people are enjoying. There's more of those games, a lot more than not. But there's no denying that. Listen, if we have a handful of games that are producing bad results, we got to acknowledge it. We can't pretend it's not real. We can't pretend it's not a thing. And we also can't pretend that it's not a bad look. I think it is a bad look. And like I said, I think the solution here is Sony should try to contact, these publishers and these studios and just ask them like, hey, what's going on here? Do you need one of our engineers to help assist you? Right. Because it's important, right? It's going to be important that there's going to be growing pains with PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. There's absolutely going to be growing pains. And you're saying I think you talk about the bad a lot more than other PlayStation content creators. Well, thank you. See, I'm glad some people acknowledge that, right? Some people say I talk about the bad too much. But there's going to be these growing pains. And with these growing pains, I think it comes with the territory of new technology, right? We're not talking about developers just grappling with more raw GPU power. We're talking about developers finding ways to implement a new AI upscaler that didn't exist 6 months, like a year ago, right? And it's its first iteration. Everything that Sony's doing with the Pro, there's been this kind of notion that, well, the PS5 Pro is like a beta test for the PS6. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, people are saying that like it's a bad thing. And I guess I could see why some people say it's a bad thing. But no, it is. Like, this is technology that I think most people were expecting we wouldn't see until next gen. But it's here now. And maybe this was the necessary way to do it. If anything, maybe this is why Sony did decide we are going to release the Pro, because we need devs to get their hands on this technology and start getting familiar with it now, start working out the kinks now so we can improve it now. So that way, by the time the PlayStation 6 rolls around, we don't have to worry about these growing pains. And you could say that, well, what about the buyers of the PS5 Pro? Is it fair that we have to go through these growing pains? And I would say, well, I mean, maybe, right? It depends on what your expectation is. If you're, I don't know if there's any PS5 Pro buyer right now. Maybe there is. The most consternation I've seen so far is with Silent Hill 2 Remake. There are PS5 Pro buyers who are pissed off at what's going on with Silent Hill 2 Remake because there were people who waited to buy this game and to play it. specifically for the PS5 Pro. And so to find out that actually you would have just been better off playing it now, right, and not waiting and playing it on your base PS5, it's totally understandable why anybody who is buying the Pro and that was one of their main games that they wanted to play, why they would be pissed off. And it is, one of the most confusing things to me right now is specifically with Silent Hill 2, how there's a lack of communication. Sony nor Konami nor Bloober Team are saying anything about it, and they still have the PS5 Pro Enhanced label there. So my guess is they're working on it, and they're just maybe it'll be this week. They're just going to drop a patch and be like, sorry guys, we had a couple issues, we ironed them out. It's working as it was intended now, right? But if not, it's like, zero communication seems to, it's going to leave, people are going to assume the worst, and you'll be like, so this is it? This is your PS5 Pro patch? It's just going to be, we just have to deal with a worse version? I mean, that's not a good look, It's not. So, what really sucks is that Bloober Team updated Silent Hill 2 PC to FSR 3.1, and they can't do it on PS5 Pro. They're forced to work with PSSR. I don't think so. I mean, actually, you know what? Maybe, because there is an exclusivity deal, and that deal, I could see it being like a conflict of interest where it's like, yeah, guys, you're gonna have to use PSSR because, but I don't know, man. I don't think there's like Silent Hill 2. I would say is a bit different because it's a timed exclusive, right? I could see Sony making that a kind of mandate for exclusives, but if you're talking about third-party games, third-party developers can use whatever they want that's available. If FSR, like for example, we might see Jedi Survivor, like what they might end up doing is just being like, yeah, we're removing the PSSR and just going back to FSR, and instead we're just going to use the raw GPU power or something. I mean, I don't know. It's an older game at this point. I don't know if they're going to really want to go back and do all that, but I'll be honest as well. I'm mostly concerned about the upcoming games. Like when I say concerned, I'm not like worried like, oh, they're going to be bad. No, I'm just saying like, listen, it's whatever. They probably had skeleton crews working on these patches, and they probably, again, they were under like some kind of deadline where it's like, if we want this game to be day one Pro Enhanced, we got to get this out the door. We got to get this patch. My focus is on, okay, 2025 games. I don't want to see anything like this. You know what I mean? I can kind of overlook some of these. Like, I didn't buy the PS5 Pro to play Jedi Survivor. I did play Silent Hill 2 before the Pro came out. I didn't buy the PS5 Pro for Alan Wake 2. I already played Alan Wake 2. So I feel like a little bit lucky that none of these games that are currently impacted are games that I wanted to play. If they were, I'd be even more annoyed. Luckily, the games that I'm playing right now are all games that are doing great with PS5 Pro. But that's where it's like, when I look to 2025 and I look at upcoming games, I'm definitely not going to be okay if, I don't actually know if I'm going to play Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm still unsure about it, but let's say I am going to play Monster Hunter Wilds, and it's like PS5 Pro Enhanced, and it's like somehow it looks or runs worse than the base PS5. I'm going to lose it on Sony because it's like, that's unacceptable, Like, that is unacceptable. And that goes for any upcoming game. And look, I get it. Even if we are going to point the finger, it's like, it's the developer. Yeah, but that's where Sony's they can't risk that shit because I don't care if it's the developer. Sony's the one that sold me the console with the promise of PS5 Pro Enhanced games will look and run better. So right now, just a handful of games. It's not make or break. It's not a huge deal. It's disheartening, but I would say the real test is in the next like 6 to 9 months. All right. So that wraps up that topic. I also wanted to throw this in here very quickly before we move on from the PS5 Pro. We don't have the official numbers yet, but Matt Piscatella of Circana, formerly known as NPD Group, he recently talked about the PS5, and he put a post out on Blue Sky where he said the PS5 Pro also had a solid start with units in the same ballpark as PS4 Pro's launch. But I'll break that down in more detail in a few weeks. So we're going to have to wait, but he's saying that the PS5 Pro is pacing with the PS4 Pro in the US. So we talked about the recent data in Japan and how that data indicated to us that the PS5 Pro is actually off to a very good start in Japan, much better than expected. And now we're hearing with, the US, which is arguably a much bigger, more significant market for something like the PS5 Pro. It's in the same, the way he put it is it's in the same ballpark. So I don't know if that means it's doing slightly less or slightly more. All right. We're going to move on to the final topic. I will let you guys know. I don't know how long the stream's going to be today. I have a really, really, really sore throat right now. I don't know if it's coming through, but I'm actually in a lot of pain talking right now. So, I'm going to move on to this final topic, and I'll go as long as I can. But if I end up ending a stream like earlier than usual today, just know it's honestly because I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm like struggling to continue to speak at a normal decibel here. But yeah, the third and final topic has to do with Lego Horizon Adventures and how it performed on Steam. We currently do not have any data for the PS5 or Switch versions. This is all we have to go on. Saying that's why I'm low energy. Yeah, I might have to take a couple days off to recover. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if it's from the acid reflux or what, but the past 2 days, like I woke up, I think yesterday, my throat was really sore, and it's still extremely sore today. Like it feels like I'm swallowing. Like when I swallow, it feels like shards of glass. So I think I'm just gonna have to probably take a couple days to recover, give my voice a rest, at least when it comes to streaming. But I appreciate you guys still, hanging in there with me. But yeah, let's go over this news here. Lego Horizon Adventures sees the worst ever Steam launch for Sony, with just 602 peak concurrent players. From Concord to Until Dawn to Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, there's been a string of PlayStation published titles in recent months that have performed very poorly on PC at launch. And unfortunately, another game has joined that list. Lego Horizon Adventures launched, and it doesn't seem to be attracting players in anything close to impressive numbers. As per SteamDB, Lego Horizon Adventures has seen a peak of just 602 concurrent players on Steam. For some context, that's the lowest concurrent count for any PlayStation published game on on Steam to date. It's even below Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which had a peak of 610 concurrent players upon its release in 2022. It was, that was with a 2-year belated port. It also says here that this is also the 4th lowest concurrent users peak for any Lego game on Steam to date. So what do you guys make of this? Are you surprised that Lego Horizon aggressively flopped on Steam and PC? How do you think Sony feels about this? And do you think this has any implication as to how Sony... Well, see, here's the important thing for me. I don't really care. Right? Because I don't play on PC, but I'm not... It's not just Horizon. It's not just Lego Horizon, right? It's the fact that pretty much all the other games that Sony just put out on Steam also like mega flopped. But bro, Steranko, you're saying thanks for all you do. Hope you feel better. Thank you so much, Steranko. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. I gotta. All right. Just don't bite. Don't bite, boss. Saying apple cider vinegar can help with acid reflux. I will just say, I tried that and it seemingly made it worse. So definitely not doing that. Boss, you are frustrating me, bro. Come on. Come on. Go up. Don't. He's fighting me, man. He's fighting me. But yeah, I wanted to highlight this because it seems like Sony is, at least they have a kind of I'm sorry, like this cat, he's like, we're not he's like popping up behind me. He's like, but instead of that, what about treats? What about treats instead? I'm just trying to say, if boss would let me, that there's a string of bad releases. Not bad releases, but bad performing releases on Steam. No. Until Dawn, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, Concord. This did worse than Concord, which is crazy. No, boss. So, guys, you want to drop those membership gifts so we can feed the beast or what? Because he's I'm sorry, dude. You know how it goes. They all needed a PlayStation account. Oh, you think that could be it? That's interesting. You think maybe it's because Sony is mandating a PlayStation account that's making people decide to forego it? I mean, what's interesting to me is that Spider-Man 2 is coming out in January, and I think that will be the real test, right? Spider-Man 2 should do very well on PC. It's only been out for about a year. It should do well. And if it doesn't, I think we might be, I don't know, we might be getting some real data that, like, yeah, the hype for Sony on PC is kind of dead. If not dead, it's not what it once was, because it's not a novelty anymore. It's not new. Using the cat to guilt people into subs, despicable. Nah, man. I mean, I get it. You just want boss to suffer. That's fine. Hey, you don't know, Waylark. You don't know if I still give boss his treats even if we don't hit our goal. You hear that, boss? They're saying I'm using you. He's like looking at me like, I don't care. I just get treats out of it. Just give him some. Well, I mean, yeah, a man's got to feed his family, bro. You think Spider-Man might do terrible? I mean, I don't imagine it doing terrible, but I don't know, man. I think it's got to do. I think it's safe to say that Sony's expectations are it should do pretty well. It's Spider-Man 2, you know, and it's the closest PC release we've seen for a big tentpole AAA single player game from Sony, like a major franchise. That's my view of it. But I don't know, man. I just feel like this is really, really, really bad. Like, I'm not saying that I expected Lego Horizon Adventures to do big numbers on Steam, but I also wouldn't have expected it to be the biggest flop for Sony on Steam yet. And the biggest reason for that is because it was a day one release, man. And it's a single player game. Well, I guess it's co-op, but that's just kind of weird to me. I wouldn't have guessed that. And I do wonder if Sony's a little bit surprised by it or not. They're probably, I think the real question is, does this reflect how it's doing on PS5 or Switch? I'm going to say probably not. Saying Horizon never did that well on Steam. I think, I remember Zero Dawn initially did pretty well. We don't have the numbers for PlayStation yet, Waylark. I mean, when we get them, we'll know, right? We'll have to see how it charts. I think that's basically the only way we're going to know. We probably have to wait till sometime next month. Nuke, you're saying Horizon is not as popular as Sony thinks it is. I mean, I would say that it seems to me that the demand for Horizon isn't as strong as Sony thinks it is. Because I don't want to say it's not as popular. I think that if you look at Horizon Zero Dawn, it sells really, really well. Over 10 million, 12 million, 15 million. Clearly people wanted that. Clearly it was popular. I think Forbidden West also does really, really well. Forbidden West does really, really well. And I think that's a clear indicator that that there's still demand for the, big single player offering for Horizon that comes out once every like 5 to 6 or 7 years. But yeah, it does seem like Sony has kind of gotten into this routine of wanting to kind of do, try to really do more and more and more with Horizon. And I just don't know what is going on. I think my YouTube studio is cooked, it seems. Okay. There we go. But yeah, I think that people are a little bit too harsh on Horizon. Like, people make it sound like Horizon sucks and nobody wants it, and it's like, well, that's not true at all. That's not true. But I also do think that Sony, they do have an overinflated view of Horizon, where they I think, I don't blame them for trying to experiment and see. You can't blame them. Like, well, hey, if our first 2 Horizon games sold this well, maybe, how will they do on PC, and how will some remasters do, and what about a Lego game, and what about a multiplayer game? It's like, yeah, sure, we could try those things, but I just think it's kind of to a point where Sony might find that, I think really all people would have wanted from Horizon, truthfully, is maybe another, like a third game to close out the trilogy. Maybe at the end of this generation or with the PlayStation 6. I think that's really like what most people would want. Anything outside of that, I think it's like, yeah, sure, like some people might want a multiplayer game, some people might want a Lego game, but I don't think that these games are going to do that well. We'll see, though. Well, honestly, we got to see with the multiplayer game. We'll see how that does. That could do pretty well. But we haven't seen any footage of it yet, though, Horizon is a graphical showcase. I'm not sure it works as a Lego game or a multiplayer game that doesn't focus on graphics. Well, that's kind of the weird thing about the Horizon multiplayer game is we did get significant leaks back in 2020. So this was 4 years ago, almost over 4 years ago at this point. We got leaks of this Horizon multiplayer game in 2020, and they literally were going for like a Fortnite / Genshin Impact art style. And I'm just like, I don't know about that. I'm not saying that the game could, should necessarily live or die based on the art style, but I'm just like, that's not, like, you can tell based off of those leaks. And again, those were 4 years ago. A lot could have changed, but you could tell like Sony wants this to have mass appeal. Like mass appeal, right? And And you could tell they were kind of taking a page out of the Fortnite book, out of the Genshin Impact book, and saying, well, look, if they can make a game with that type of art style and find that level of mass appeal and success, why can't we? And I get it. But it's like, look at what you're talking about. Horizon. Look at the Horizon game. You know, Horizon is known for its graphical prowess. MVG, a Lego game, is not going to appeal to Steam users regardless if it's a Horizon game or not. Yeah, you might be right. And that's why I'm saying, like, Lego Horizon might be doing fine. We won't know until next month. I do agree that a Lego game's not going to appeal to Steam users, but I would not have guessed it was going to be the biggest flop. Like, that to me is the kind of the surprising part, is it's the biggest flop on Steam. Like, it did worse than Concord and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. And Sackboy: A Big Adventure came out 2 years later. That's what's surprising to me. Where it's like, wow, dude, I would have thought that there would have been at least a couple thousand players, like 2,000 or 3,000. Not this, you know? So again, for all we know, it's cleaning up on Switch. For all we know, it's cleaning up on PS5. I don't know that I'm confident it is, but I'm not saying we should look at this as, well, it's clearly a failure and nobody wanted it. But it does tell us on PC it was a failure and nobody wanted it. So, you know, I guess we'll just have to see how it performed on PS5 and Switch. Horizon multiplayer could be great, but if it's just a Monster Hunter ripoff, it's going to tank. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit worried, you know. I'll tell you this. I think if Lego Horizon flops, like at the end of the day, Sony's just like, oh wow, that really didn't sell well at all. We thought it would do better. Let's just say it flops. Then next year they reveal the Lego Horizon game, and let's just say that the reaction to that I said the Lego Horizon game, the Horizon multiplayer game. Let's just say, you know, I'm just running through a scenario here. Let's say the reaction to that Horizon multiplayer game is people don't like it. Like, mostly negative. People don't like the art style. People just don't like what they're doing with it. And it's clear that it's not going to do well. My question is, you know, what does Sony do at that point? Like, do they kind of take a step back and be like, oh, all right, shit, maybe we went too hard with Horizon. Maybe we put too much stock in Horizon. Or do you think that they just keep kind of pressing it, you know? Because I don't mean to be negative. I'm not trying to be a hater. I think that there are haters. I think that there are people where it's just like, they just don't like Sony. They don't like PlayStation, and they definitely don't like Horizon. And they just will tell you, like, no, nobody wants it. Nobody cares. But no, I say this coming from I would say a pretty balanced standpoint, that I do think that every upcoming Horizon product has a real chance of underwhelming Sony, in that, like, oh shit, there's not nearly, like, people, like, they don't want it, you know? They don't want it. They're not that interested. I think they have a real chance of running into that outside of the third main game. And I'm just really curious to see, like, whether that happens or not. Because I don't know, man. I understand where Sony wants to franchise the shit out of their successful IPs now, right? They do, but at the same time, like, I think they just might find that it's going to be harder to do that than maybe you first thought. I would say most PlayStation players have come to expect a greater diversity from PlayStation Studios, where I would say that most PlayStation players do not expect one studio to stick with one franchise for too long, and to, at the very least, take a long break and then come back to it, you know? Whereas it seems like what Guerrilla is doing, Guerrilla is like the first studio that seems to really be going all in, gung ho with we are the Horizon studio. Now, granted, I get it. What about God of War? I understand that was already there, but at the same time, I don't think God of War was ever oversaturated. God of War had a low point with Ascension, and at that point, there was a question where it's like, does anybody want God of War anymore? And the answer was yes. It just needed to be reinvented, right? But I don't think, I don't recall Santa Monica ever being like, they never did anything like this, right? Where they're like, everything, all things, we got 17 different things in the works and they're all God of War related. I don't think they've ever did anything like that. And there was more space in between the games. And we still don't see them doing that. And I feel like that's the difference with Guerrilla. Guerrilla's like, what if we just went all in, pedal to the metal, Horizon every day, all day? More Horizon than you can handle. Like total oversaturation. And I think that's where we're starting to kind of see a bit of a negative pushback from the PlayStation community, where I think a lot of the PlayStation community are like, I don't really think you should do that. Scuba Tank filled with farts, you're saying my Stalker 2 Collector's Edition is out for delivery. Could be my personal Game of the Year contender. Balatro is currently mine. Bought it on 4 different platforms. Wow. Yeah, you have to let me know how it is, man. Let me know how you like the Collector's Edition. And let me know, after you get some time with Stalker 2, what you're thinking of it, man. Because, yeah, I've heard that Stalker 2, even though I don't think it's going to be in contention for Game of the Year, it's too late now, but some people are saying that it might end up being their Game of the Year. All right, guys. I do think this is where, for my own good, I have to end the stream, though, because I keep talking, but my throat is in a lot of pain, and it's starting to feel like it's at that point where if I keep pushing, I'm just making it worse and prolonging the healing. So I think this is where I'm going to wrap it up. We passed the hour and a half mark. Why MBG, you can't afford $20 for Game Pass? No, I could, but I'm going to wait to see if it comes out to PS5. So, but guys, that's going to do it for the stream today. Not too bad, not a whole lot of topics, but still some interesting stuff to go over and discuss here. Game of the Year nominees and whatnot. So, before I head out, I do want to just, again, thank you guys for tuning in, but want to ask you to please hit that like button to help the stream out. I also want to give a shout out and a thank you to anybody who dropped any donations of any kind. I do appreciate it. We are fan funded. I can only do this because you make it possible. And I don't know if Devil Shooter's here right now, and I don't know if he's going to do the timestamps. I don't know if he'll be able to, because he has a situation with his dog. So either way, Devil Shooter, thank you for what you do for the community, man. And no worries if you can't do the timestamps for a little while. And before we go here, shout out to Meow for re-upping their membership back to Greatness Awaits. Meow, thank you so much for that. Appreciate the support. Yeah, good luck, Devil Shooter. Wishing you the best. And I really feel like my voice is starting to go. And Meow drops a membership gift as well. Thank you so much. That's there you go. That's 3 members on the day. I don't think that's reflected in the counter, but thank you so much for that. Just kind of some 11th hour support here. It's very nice to see. So I'll update that and we'll head out. One sec. There we go. All right. Well, guys, enjoy the rest of your Monday. And I can't guarantee there'll be a stream tomorrow, but, I'll try to continue to put videos out there if I'm able to. And just be on the lookout. I should be streaming more this week, of course. It's early in the week, but I might have to take a couple days off. So, all right, guys, that does it. Hit the like button, and I will catch everybody in the next one. So, till next time, take care.